Kaying darbal thawaan ke jela mentang kesni ke belak syong Kyrpang. Kelak pediang bat menjur ban penterikam ya ke goods and services tax ha ke jela hadin ke jingatai ba ke jing pensyai ha pedeng ki dikot jong ke yeng. Ya ka GST bill lawan rak du menteri ketenan excise registration taxation and stamps uzenet sangma haying darbal thawaan ha ke baula ai ke jing pensyai ha ki katto kat ni ki benta bat ke jingmut bokongsan jong ke GST bill. Katkum ke jingong uzenet Kidon sawajar san sepangut kinong kai kibala hab ha kejing seo khajna ha ke GST ha kene ke jela kata kiba kejing kamai jungki kala palat ya ke sipaulak ha si senam uzenet ulong ba kene ke GST kan mi bujli ha barok ki jai khajna bala julum ha ki senam bala deb bat kelong betang kawe ke khajna ha kari barok kawe katkum kejing ong zenet ke jela kum ka megala ka babon kimar la shuthiet na kiwe pat ke jela kan yo jingmuntai bha hadin mala pentrikam ya kene ka an thamai Ulaong bakala bandon kejing kindian namar ya kejing seo khajna namar bahak banle da ka kod internet namar bahak jela megla ka network jang BSNL kam da biang bat ka sarkar kala ekran ru bat ki company shimet ban penbiang ban la ban pentrikam ya kani kejing temu Ulaong bakat kum ke GST council baro ki jela ki de ban penkiu ya kejing yo lum khajna na ka ba menta sya ka khat sau person kabamut balada ka jela ka yo lum khajna shi spa tingka menta usnem Kadiban penkiu khat sau tingka house number 1 Henry lada kamla ban penmi ni kot ya kani kathong ya kabaduna on sasiu ni buria dak sarkar preng hapo sansnem ya kimar ba mardi la palait no ya kejingsham khajna lait no tang kitu balashna ni song dak company katkum kani ga GST Henry don kimar rep ki ba ka sarkar jela kadanya sa bat ka GST council bakan palait khajna bat kini gidang sa banyak kren hakaba kejingelang kalong hak khat phara tarik mentau benai Kimar bapalai khajna kilong kimarat baim dokha umngap ruti peleng dot jor shana kikot kot khobor tiarthan kamlo bat kiwe kiwe
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Meghalaya Goods and Services Tax Bill 2017 be passed.
At this point of time, sir, before we move ahead with the passing of this bill,
yes,
since it is a very important bill with far-reaching consequences, I would like the minister in charge to explain to this House some of the benefits and the positive effects that the bill will have once it is passed, and also, more importantly, sir, whether the state government is prepared as far as the wherewithal, the support system, and the other requirements that this bill will entail. So, for instance, the fact that there is a decision taken by the Ministry of HRD to shift the Commissioner of Central Excise, the Office of the Central Excise, Customs and Tax to Guwahati. This will also have negative impact on the implementation of GST in Meghalaya. So before we proceed with the passing of the bill, may I get some clarity from the Minister in charge or the Honorable Chief Minister as to how prepared is Meghalaya to implement GST and the time frame within which the entire act can be put into actual practical use in across the states.
I agree with the honourable member from Shillong West, and I will allow if any member would like to seek any clarification or like to debate on this bill, I will allow before passing it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to seek some clarifications because this draft bill is such a big bill, and yes, of course, we have received this circulation, but in a very short period of time, we could not study it deeply or at length. So, sir, I would like also to get some clarification with regards to this GST bill to some important points, sir. Sir, how much will be the loss to the Meghalaya through the centre's plan to share merchant discount rate, MDR, burdens are in our state? Because so many states in India also they have had there's opposition unless until the state will take into deep study a thing, maybe there will be great loss to our state, sir. And another important issue that I would like to seek clarification from the government of the day, whether all banks in Meghalaya ready for implementation of GST by October itself. Is it the internet connectivity in Meghalaya reliable? Because at present, our state is very much erratic while implementing this GST, sir. Another point, sir, will it not require orientation of the concerned stakeholders on the procedure? Otherwise, there will be a confusion, as there was during the process of demonetization last October and December, sir. So my point is that I need and I want to get clarity that are we ready for digital payment when internet connectivity in our state is very poor? I also would like to get some clarity that it is learned that GST proposes to increase 80% tax up to 80% on school books, stationeries like pencil and eraser, etc. As also on biscuits and other food items for children's nutrition. Should not our state look seriously into the matter and express our reservation on this proposal, for it would definitely affect school-going children, sir, and work against the aim of good health and affordable and free education, sir. But I just learned that from reliable source that while puja's item has been exempted from the tax, whereas in our state there are so many denominations that we also need to take into consideration, sir. With these few observations, sir, I would like to get the clarification from the government, sir.
So we would like to know, as far as the state of Meghalaya is concerned, what are the challenges, the benefits, the advantages for the state as a whole with the implementation of this GST regime, sir? Thank you.
Now, we have been seeing already in the state of Meghalaya, like that district council and the state, the people suffers a double tax, especially in the ground, in the grassroots level. Now, it's a fact that some of the revenue is being collected by the state government and the share is being given to the district council. The thing is that the district council itself doesn't get a clarity in sharing their share. Whether we will have the same impact when all the revenue will go to the central consolidated fund. Whether we will have the actual figure of whatever the state, the center has collected from the state. And while giving the share, whether there won't be any implication, whether there be any complication, while giving us back whatever share we have got. So that is the major challenges that the state might have to face. Because if the central government is different party run by the different government, by the different party, and the state is run by the different party, whether there won't be any, kind of a complication. Because if the center want to squeeze the state, then center might not, give us back whatever the share the state is having. So whether that kind of study has been made, because now we can openly see when the district council is run by the different, party, then state try to squeeze it by not giving them the share. The same might happen to the state also. So is there any study been studied by the state government and the center in this particular part? And then moreover, even now itself we can see there's a lots of taxes, unnecessary taxes is happening. Even municipalities having this, taxes. Even the district council is having the taxes, even the state government having the taxes, now itself. So once the GST is introduced, whether those kind of, faltu taxes won't be there anymore. And what about the faltu taxes? That is happening even now also.
Don't tell faltu taxes. Taxes are not faltu or unnecessary.
Unnecessary tax. Unnecessary taxes. Even now, district council, that municipality, even after so many complaint has been made, but yet they are still collecting the road taxes. They're having the gates. They're having the check gates. So these are the simple, but yet a measure which will affect in our future. So I would like to bring to the notice of the government whether there won't be any complication when we will ask for our share to give it to the state when it is required. Speaker, sir.
There are certain concerns in our state, sir. And I was wondering, sir, whether the government has thought about addressing those concerns or whether they have approached the union government, the Ministry of Finance, regarding these concerns. So one of them, I'd just like to point out one, there are many in fact, but just one of them, is regarding the broom industry, sir, which is derived from natural grass, a particular type of natural grass, sir. And because of the implementation of GST, the broom industry, sir, is being classified into branded and non-branded now, which means that they will be brought under the GST tax regime, which was not the case earlier, sir. Broom industry is a forest product, and therefore it was exempted from tax, sir. But now, with the GST coming in, it appears that the broom industry is going to be brought under the GST regime, tax regime. So I wanted to know from the Honorable Minister and from this government whether any efforts have been made by this government to approach the union government to exempt the broom industry from the GST tax, sir, and bring it under the exempted category, sir. So if that has been done, I'll be very grateful. And what is the response from the union government, the Ministry of Finance, regarding this is something that I would like to know, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Some clarity from the government regarding the petroleum and other consumption of people, that why petroleum and other consumption was not included on GST, sir.
So whether the state government will still continue with their check gate, or how to check the goods which are transits to other states. Another thing, sir, I would like to know what are the state share between the state government and the central government. And another thing, sir, as this GST will be implemented from 1st July. There are more business entrepreneurs, they have already buy the sea form or order the materials, whether that will be still continuing or not. So that few clarification I would like to get from the Honorable Minister. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, this GST is a culmination of a long-drawn exercise, starting as the Import Committee of State Finance Ministers, which was started long time back in the year 2000. And since it's a very revolutionary attempt to make with the kind of tax to be levied where there will be only single place and single tax throughout the country. Then ultimately, after engaging in lots of debates in the forum of Empowered Committee of State Finance Ministers, the GST Council has come into being. And the first GST Council meeting was held in 22nd of September 2016. So, in this GST Council is the shared responsibility between the Government of India and all the state governments, and the voting right of the central government is one-third voting right, and two-thirds is vested with the states. So once this GST is implemented, certain states which are bigger states and which are manufacturing states will be losing their revenues, and state like Meghalaya, which is the consuming state, will be benefited out of the implementation of GST. Because unlike the present system, once the GST is implemented, the CST will not have to be paid in the origin state. So that is why it is called a destination-based tax. Say, for example, if certain commodity is being brought by some dealer from Maharashtra, 2% of CST would have been will have to be paid in the origin state, and again after it is being brought to the consuming state, say for example Meghalaya, the required fixed rate of VAT will have to be paid. So there is a cascading effect in the levy of tax in the present system. So once this GST is implemented, this cascading effect of tax will no longer be there, and the consumers will be benefited out of this. So there will be certain challenges because the state like Meghalaya, we have got lots of terrain. So the internet facility will be a problem in certain part of the state. That is why the government has been taking up with the BSNL. And since the network of BSNL is not up to the mark, we are going to take up the matter with other private companies. And that entire system will be looked after by Goods and Service Tax Network, that is called GSTN. It's a company which is being engaged by the GST Council. And there are few points which I would like to share with the honorable members of this August House. The interests may be different from state to state. While taking certain decisions, it may be benefiting some bigger states, which will again affect the other states, which will be consuming states. Therefore, it's the duty of the state concerns to raise the issues to protect their own interest. And the losses which is going to be incurred by the manufacturing states arising out of the implementation of GST will be compensated by the Government of India for initial 5 years. So the base year has been, the 2015 2016 has been considered to be the base year. So whatever revenue was collected during the year, during this base year, that is 2015-16, that has been considered as the base year, and 14% of growth is considered to be compensated. Like, for example, whatever amount has been collected during 2015-16, and over and above 14% growth will be calculated. And if it is not telling with that 14% growth, whatever amount will be below that 14% growth will be compensated by the Government of India for next 5 years. That is the decision has been taken. So rates, as far as the rates are concerned, there has been lots of debates, and in a single sitting, the rates are not being able to be fixed. For fixing the rates, 4 slabs have been considered. The lowest is 5%, then 12%, then 18%, then the highest slab is the 28%. 3% to 9%. In the present incidence, the rates which are fixed at 3% to 9% has been fixed at 5%, and 9% to 15% are being fixed at 12%, and above 15% and up to 21% has been fixed at 18%, and above 21% has been fixed at. The commodities which are being widely used by the poorer section of the people are tried to be considered at the lowest rate, and the food grains, the staple food, has been made tax-free, 0%, and although it is food grain, the branded, packeted cereal and food grains have been fixed at 5%. And we in the northeastern states, our tribal people widely use dry fish. It was fixed by the GST Council at the rate of 12%, and we have fought to consider it to be tax-free, and ultimately 5% tax was fixed, considered by the GST Council, which was not agreed by Meghalaya. And we have raised the issue of areca nut, because our state is producing lots of areca nut. The GST Council proposed to fix it at 12%, and Meghalaya has fought tooth and nail to make it 0%, and of course the green areca nut, which means when the farmer harvests and sell it, in that stage, it has been considered to be tax-free. And the dried one, which is called supari, the commercial name, 5% tax has been fixed for the dried one. And out of the areca nut, there are lots of different products like Rajnigandha, the different gutkas, which are considered to be the sin goods. 28% tax has been fixed for those. And certain, all the list I don't have, and once it is decided by the GST Council, it will be always available by any other member. So all the list of the rate which has been fixed is not with me. And the question of the Office of Custom and Excise even if it is shifted, it doesn't matter. Because up to 1 crore and 50 lakhs turnover, the 90% will be controlled by the state government. Only 10% will be by the central government. And above, any dealer which is having more than 1.5 crores will have dual control, equally shared by the state government and the government of India. So rather, in the present incidents, the government of India doesn't have a representative in all the parts of the state. In the present situation, their employees are present only in Shillong and Tura in some urban areas. But once this GST is implemented, they will have to make sure that their employees are also present elsewhere also. And of invoice rules. The proposed invoice rule says that up to 50,000 of purchase, the name and address of the purchaser will not be required to be recorded. Above 50,000 to 2.5 lakhs purchase, there can be consolidated invoice. And above 2.5 crores, separate invoice with the name and address of the purchaser will be required. So in this situation, what happened? If up to 50,000 purchase, if the name and address of the purchaser is not required to be recorded in the invoice, then suppose from our state, there will be lots of people who are buying commodities from the neighboring state, be it from Guwahati, Silchar side, and along the Meghalaya-Assam border, starting from Mirza, Dutnoy side, Gwalpara, Siliguri. So since it is destination-based tax, supposing if somebody purchases 2 lakhs commodity also, the shopkeeper may say that, okay, for your own convenience, let me make. Meghalaya has fought very hard to reduce it up to 10,000, and if not 10,000, at least up to 20,000. And I was forgetting to tell that as of now, the threshold limit we have fixed to be at 10 lakhs. As on today, the threshold limit in Meghalaya is only 1 lakh, meaning any dealer whose turnover is crossing 1 lakh will be in the tax net. So it is very difficult to catch hold of different dealers, small dealers, even the panwala will be in the tax net in the present scenario. That is why we have fixed the threshold limit at 10 lakhs, but other bigger states, they have fixed the threshold limit at 20 lakhs. But in the northeastern states and other special category states, all 11 states, we have got threshold limit of 10 lakhs. So once this GST is implemented, any dealer who is having the turnover up to 10 lakhs will not have to pay tax. They will not be in the tax net. So once this threshold limit is changed, once this GST is implemented, out of 30,000 dealers, we are having 4,500 dealers only. If we calculate the threshold limit, out of 30,000, around 30,000 dealers, Now, once the GST is implemented, considering the threshold limit at 10 lakhs, there will be only 4,000 and around 4,500 dealers who will be in the tax net. So it is the desire of all the states as well as the government of India since long time back to see the light of the day when this GST will be implemented, where there will be balancing of sharing the revenues. And once this GST is implemented, all other tax which were levied by the government of India and the state governments will subsume, all of them will be subsumed in the GST, and there will be only single tax only, sir. And the rate on different commodities, whatever is fixed, out of that, 50% will go to the government of India and 50% will be with the state government. Say if it is 28%, so 14% will be with the state government and 14% will be with the government of India. So next meeting will be on the 18th of this month. So it will be confirmed on the next meeting on the 18th of this month as to whether it can be implemented, the implementation can be started from 1st July or not. But in the month of September, we have got constitutional obligation that the GST will have to be implemented from September this year, sir.
This bill itself is a fait accompli throughout India, and therefore the state has no choice but to pass this bill. Sir, apart from the clarification of the minister in charge, for which I am thankful, and apart from the poor connectivity that the state suffers from, one other factor that the minister has not touched upon is how prepared are we in terms of the officers who will have to be part of the GST regime. I mean, if we look at Chapter 2, Section 3 of this bill, there is a whole set of officers to be led by Commissioner of State Tax who will oversee the implementation of GST. But we know for a fact that as of today, there is a dearth of officers, especially at the rank of the state cadre, in terms of their being familiar with the complex matter relating to implementation of this regime. So since we have the target of 1st of July, I would like to know how prepared is the state government in terms of the orientation of officers and their tackling of complaints which will arise at the initial stage, maybe the first 1 year, 1.5 years, once the new system comes into place.
The several training has been imparted to the officers, and the implementation of GST will be monitored and looked after by the Commissioner of Taxes. And the officers, 100% officers have been undergone training in different times at different levels. And also we have organized some program, orientation program with all the taxpayers, the stakeholders in the month of January. And in this month also we are going to organize this kind of program. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg now to move that the Meghalaya Goods and Services Tax Bill 2017 be passed.
Kayeng darbar thau ang kajla mentagasngi klaksim ru ya karai bandawa baka sarkar India kadai banweng no mardor ya kajing penmi ya kajing penbena ba perking ban shalan bat penyap masih hak ni kajla ya kani karai hak ni darbar Kyrpang balawan ra menteri rang ba kajla u Dr. Mukul Sama hapok kayeng darbar la pediang dabarok kidkhot kayeng darbar kentup kidkhot kaliang persya bat kaliang sensyar. Barok kinang keren kamtam na kaliang persya kentup ba Paul Lingdo, ba Arden Milau Basoymet, Dr. Jumini Mokho, ba Kipi Pangyang, ba Embalang Simli, ba Witing Mausor, ba Di Jindiang, ba James K. Sama, ba Di Dilapang. Kilapan pau ya kijingkersan ban Shim dakarai ban pa syaka sarkar India. Bandawa ban Wengno yang kijingpen pena. Namar ka kata jur ya kinong rep ka jela bat kipai ba babam do masih. Haba wanra ya kanikamat. U Dr. Mokol Sama Uluong. Ba ka jingle jang ka sarkar India. Lingba ka tanat forest, environment and climate change. Kebalapan mi hau banai baladap. Bakat kem ka prevention of cruelty to animals, regulation of livestock, markets, rules araja khatnyo. Keladan bon ke jing ko ba ke jing tuna. Namar bakan wanra ya ke jing ta ya kayok kakot bat karukom im jeng kibriu ha kene ke jela. Uloong bakane ke rules ke ba pentrikam ke sarkar pedeng ke BJP ke kata bet ya ke pai ba ke dong mingi. Namar bakide ke jela ba bam do ba. Katkum ke jing ong umintri rang ba ke sarkar pedeng ke temu ban thambor ya ke hok jeng ke jela ke balak pen kamti da keriti sensyar kari India. Uloong baka rules ke balak pen mi da ke sarkar pedeng kalak kenyot ya kemensiam jangka ain tenrai kebasna banyada ya kimerat.
That's sub-rule 4 of the sub-rule of Rule 115 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business in the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly in its application to the government resolutions on the notifications issued by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change by GSR 494(E) dated 23rd May 2017, regarding the prevention of cruelty to animals, regulations of livestock markets, rules 2017, be suspended for the time being, insofar as the said sub-rule requires 7 days notice for moving the resolutions.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the government resolution on the notification issued by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change by GSR 494 (E) dated 23rd May 2017 regarding the prevention of cruelty to animals, regulation of livestock markets rules 2017 and several shortcomings in the rules which will have a serious bearing on their implementation in the state of Meghalaya.
Full text of the resolution.
Mr. Speaker, sir, whereas Government of India in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change by GSR 494(E) dated the 23rd May 2017 has notified the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Regulation of Livestock Markets Rules 2017, which suffer from serious shortcomings and infirmities having an adverse impact on the economy and culture of the state of Meghalaya. And whereas the above rules travel way beyond the scope and object, that is, to prevent infliction of unnecessary pain or suffering on animals as set out in the preamble of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960, thus infringing upon the rights of the states to regulate items and listed in the state list 2 of 7th Schedule to the Constitution of India, and whereas subjects such as agriculture, animal husbandry, including cattle market, are covered under the items 14, 15, and 28 of the list 2 of the 7th Schedule to the Constitution of India, over which the state alone have exclusive jurisdiction to legislate upon, and whereas the above rules are in contravention of Section 38 as they go beyond the scope of the Central Act and also contravene Section 28 of this said Act, which contemplates the killing of certain animals subject to the provision of the Cattle Preservation Act. And whereas Rule 8 of these rules prohibits organizing of animal market in a place which is situated within 25 kilometers from any state border or which is situated within 50 kilometers from any international border, while the state of Meghalaya shares 443 kilometers long international border with Bangladesh and a length of over 800 kilometers of interstate border with the state of Assam, resulting in large scale of disruption of economy, including livelihoods in the border areas, since Rule 2E specifically defines the cattle to
to include bovine animals, bulls, bullocks, cows, buffaloes, steers, heifers, calves, and camels. And whereas Rule 22 of this rule places restrictions on sale and purchase of cattle and specifically prohibits bringing of a cattle to animal market for sale for slaughter, and further mandates that the purchaser of a cattle shall not sell the animal for the purpose of slaughter, which is a major embargo crippling the economy of predominantly tribal society with more than 85% indigenous population. And whereas the cattle meat is an integral part of the dietary habits of our tribal populace of the state of Meghalaya, since it is rich in minerals and is one of the chief source of protein, especially for the economically weaker section of the tribal society. The demand for beef across the state of Meghalaya is to the tune of 23,634 metric tons. That is figures for the year 2015 and 16, while the beef production within the state is only 12,834 metric tons, and the rest is imported to the tune of 10,800 metric tons. And whereas, to balance the demand and supply of beef, the state government has put in place Meghalaya State Livestock Mission for 2017 and 2022 to augment the livestock production to meet the increasing demand across the state of Meghalaya, and the present rules impact the growing livestock economy adversely. And whereas prohibition on sale and purchase of cattle for the purpose of slaughter will not only affect the livelihood of over 5.7 lakh households, that is 79% of census households, which are presently involved in cattle rearing, but will also affect the right of the people to have diet of their own choice and to celebrate the religious, cultural, and social ceremonies under practice since times immemorial. And whereas the India Health Report on Nutrition 2015, which surveyed the child undernutrition in India, with a national average of 38.7%, has put the prevalence of stunting of growth in children under 5 years of age rampant in the state of Meghalaya at 42.9%. And the government of Meghalaya is addressing the state nutritional security by providing a mixed diet in the school midday meal basket, which as on today lacks non-vegetarian sources of food. And whereas we as a responsible state fully support the intent of the Act, that is to prevent infliction of unnecessary pain or suffering on animals, to ensure implementation of the Act in its true letter and spirit, the state of Meghalaya in 2016 have already constituted the State Animal Welfare Board, District Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals in all the 11 districts of the state. And whereas these rules in the present form will severely hamper socio-economic, cultural, and religious rights of the people of the state guaranteed in the Constitution of India under Article 21 and Article 26. And now, therefore, this House takes strong note of the aforementioned shortcomings and infirmities in these rules as notified, and resolves that the same may be withdrawn by the Government of India with immediate effect so as to maintain the federal and secular character of our Constitution, or be faced with a situation where law prohibits some activity while everyday life practices it on a large scale due to harsh economic realities, a situation surely to be avoided at all cost. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The motion for adoption.
The southern part. And Meghalaya, with its long border with Assam, interstate border, the total length yet to be resolved because of our areas of difference, western, southwestern, long border. So if we look at the overall available space within the state, by taking into consideration this distance indicated in the rule, Meghalaya is left with no place for any market, number one. And number two, all the markets that exist in the state have existed from time immemorial, and markets are identified based on the comfort and mutual convenience of the buyers and traders. And government have only facilitated to provide further facilities in these markets, but it has been decided by the people from since time immemorial. So this will actually have lots of implication on overall rights of the people for exercising their right to sell and right to buy, which therefore cannot be implemented in the present form. Now what happens under these circumstances? The whole issue of infringing upon the state subject is actually an assault into the whole federal structure of the nation. Therefore, the state cannot actually accept this kind of imposition which goes beyond the provision of the Constitution in as far as the federal structure of the Constitution is concerned. This is one part, sir. And here again in the state of Meghalaya, markets are not only regulated by the state, but actually the whole traditional markets are administered by the district councils. So there is a complete different scenario here. So this particular rule, when we look at, if we interpret, that means the similar situation will happen in other states like Tripura, Manipur, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh. That means this particular rule has been designed to actually affect the Northeast more adversely, knowing fully well that the culture and way of life of our people of this region is invariably linked to cattle and the consumption of its meat. Therefore, it sends a very dangerous signal for the future. It sets a very dangerous precedence in the whole history of the country in as far as the federal structure of the nation is concerned. Therefore, this required to be articulated in a more befitting manner. That's why I have in my proposed resolution indicated about the whole infringement on the whole federal structure of the nation, indicating the provision of the Constitution, and therefore I think there is no reason to have any doubt about the ultimate ramification of this rule. It will have a dangerous ramification. It will have complete dislocation in the whole livelihood of our poor farmers. It is a fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, that when we talk about the cattle rearing forms a part of the livelihood of our people, of the farmers across the nation, not just in Northeast. That's the reason why we receive so much of cattle when we have a huge gap between demand and supply, coming from other parts of the country. And it strikes a balance in the whole ecology, in the whole economy. Now, if the rule is clearly read, the rule makes it binding on the seller that he has to give an undertaking that the cattle brought to the market shall not be sold for slaughter. And this particular record has to be kept in the custody, safe custody of the market monitoring committee, which should be constituted for 6 months, and verify whether this undertaking has been violated or not. And if it is violated, now suppose somebody says that, okay, the cattle which was sold by the seller, and he has given undertaking that it will not be sold, it is not being sold for a buyer who is taking it for slaughter. But if the cattle has gone to a slaughter house or has been slaughtered, then the penal action will be applied, which goes up to an imprisonment of 3 months. That means all the poor farmers who are not really acclimatized to this act and rule will be a victim. 3 months of imprisonment for a seller who should give an undertaking that no, this cow is being sold only to a buyer who will not use it for slaughter. Now, how can the seller actually guarantee that the buyer within 6 months or afterwards also will not slaughter it? So that means it's a rule which ultimately makes it impossible for the states to implement also. And it makes the poor farmers very vulnerable to such penal action up to the extent of getting imprisonment. So we can easily anticipate the ramification. Then even the buyer has to give this undertaking. Now in the circumstances, what will happen then? What happens to the cattle which is with the farmers, and after farmers utilize the cattle for plowing, etc., when they feel that, okay, the cattle is no longer strong enough, what is the usual practice? The usual practice is that farmer will then decide to buy new pair of cattle to ensure that he has the best and competent and strong pair of cattle for his agricultural use, for plowing, etc. And for buying that, poor farmers have to get money, and they generate that money by selling the old one. Then they top up on that and then buy new one. This is the tradition. This is how the farmers survive. Now, this is an onslaught and attack on the poor farmers across the nation, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is not just from the perspective of its negative impact and adverse impact on the state of Meghalaya. It is going to have a negative ramification on all the farmers. It is not just that only the beef eaters actually rear cattle. Whether non-beef eaters or beef eaters, everybody rear cattle, all the farmers across the nation. Whether people belonging to different faith, everybody rear cattle. So this is something which is going to have a complete dislocation on the rural economy. It is going to target, it is already going to have a ramification on the poor farmers. Therefore, I submit before this August House that this particular rule need to be immediately withdrawn by Government of India. It cannot be implemented. The moment we try to implement it, you have chaos and disorder, you have dislocation in the whole livelihood of the poor farmers across the nation. Now, that is one part. Then another one is infringing upon the personal liberty, violating the complete mandate of the Article 21 of the Constitution. So many other impact is here. One is assault on the time-tested federal structure, which has enabled the nation to be one of the fastest growing economy. We witnessed 10+ growth rate in the preceding years. And we are afraid now it's already declining. It is because of the vibrant federal structure, because states have grown. States have shown resilience to all the pulls and pushes of the market behavior. Many of the states have started, competing with each other, ultimately resulting into the faster growth that we have seen in the preceding years, in the last decade, Mr. Speaker. So, this has resulted because of the vibrant, time-tested federal structure of this great nation, as mandated by the Constitution. Now, if there is an assault like this, it will be a precedent. It will not confine only to this particular Principal Act, which has been exploited beyond the mandate of the Principal Act to come up with this rule. They will go further. There's a dangerous trend. The rights of the state, the rights of the people to have their own elected government in the state, the whole power is being diluted. Benefit of having a state under the given mandate of the Constitution is under attack, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is under attack, Mr. Speaker, sir. I, therefore, submit before this August House, we must all come together. We must all come together, irrespective of party political lines, and collectively articulate this concern. Not just Meghalaya, all the states must do it. I'm afraid because some of the states are being governed by the party which is the same party in center, they are going by the dictates. They are not raising this voice, that this particular attempt, just one single attempt, is a complete demonstration of their disregard to the federal structure. That means the country will have a very dangerous precedent when Government of India will exploit all the existing laws passed by the Parliament and start coming up with rules which is completely beyond the mandate of the legislative jurisdiction which the Parliament has actually resorted to.
According to the rule, we will see that this is nothing but amounts to a virtual ban of cattle slaughter in our state. So I don't want to dwell much on this issue, but we know that there has been the hue and cry in the community immediately after they came to know that the government of India has come up with this rule. But I would like to ask a question to the government, sir, because we have already experienced many government resolutions which have not been attended positively by the government of India. So what will happen in case this resolution is not attended seriously and positively by the government of India? What will be the step taken by the state government in order to protest the step or these rules given by the government of India? Because we know that as of today, there has already been a stoppage of cattle coming from across the state. And it has caused the economy of the state dearly. So I would like to get a very clear statement on the part of the government of the day. What are the immediate measures that the government is going to adopt in order to address this problem? So will the government implement the rules as far as stopping the slaughterhouse in the state? Will the government consider to find a way how do we ensure that cattle reach our state in order to, in our state, in order to meet the requirements of the state? So therefore, sir, I would like to get a very clear statement on the part of the government. Is the government of the day prepared in case the central government did not act to this resolution? That is the first clarification, sir, that I would like to get from the government, sir.
Chief Minister and the government for bringing this important resolution. I think the feelings and the stand of every citizen of Meghalaya is very, very clear. But then it's a good thing that we are articulating this on the floor of this august House and are passing this resolution to make it known what the stand of this government and this assembly is. So, I think what the Honorable Chief Minister has mentioned in the course of his debate, sir, is very relevant, sir. And he's raised a lot of concerns about livelihoods, about dietary preferences, about many things, sir. And these concerns are very valid, sir. But then, sir, the apprehension expressed, I think, is unwanted, sir, because even though the Indian Parliament has enacted the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act in 1960, sir, which, of course, you know, the powers are given to the Government of India as the executive to make rules to implement this act. But, sir, the powers of determining cow slaughter regulations lies exclusively with the states, sir, because the issues relating to livestock are, sir, invariably tied to local conditions of agriculture, sir, to availability of fodder, to our local customs, to dietary preferences, etc., sir. And we all know, sir, that agriculture is not in the union list, sir, it is in the state list. Therefore, sir, I don't think there is any danger to the federal structure of India here, sir, because the power lies with the state. So we don't need to be really panicking at this moment, sir. The powers are with us, and we as a state, with all the federal powers that have been given to us, sir, it is in our hands what we choose to do in this regard, sir. Therefore, sir, I'm very happy that Honorable Chief Minister has brought this resolution. I would also like to state, when he mentioned that all political parties should come together and oppose this, and I'd like to place this on record, sir, on the floor of this House, that we as a political party, our national president has already written to Honorable Prime Minister, seeking revocation of this rule, sir, stating that this is going to infringe upon the fundamental right enshrined in Article 19(1)(g), sir, which states that a person has a right to carry on any trade, and cattle trade being a fundamental right for any person who wishes to engage in that trade. So this will infringe upon that fundamental right, which goes to show that, sir, these rules which have been framed will not stand constitutional scrutiny, sir. And eventually, if someone does challenge this in court, it is most probably going to be struck down. But I'm very happy, nonetheless, that our state government has taken this initiative to make known what our stand as a state and what the people of this state think about this rule, sir. Secondly, sir, I was reading the rules which have been brought out in the Gazette of India Extraordinary, and although this was circulated to us just one day back, I couldn't really do justice to this rules. But I just saw many of these points which are very, very impractical, sir. And here we are talking of providing ramps in these animal markets. This is really, sir, I mean, we first need to ensure that we have ramps in our schools before we even think of providing ramps in animal markets, sir. Then, sir, secondly, it's also mentioning, about non-slippery flooring, sir. Sir, non-slippery flooring is considered a luxury for many people who do install them in their houses. And having non-slippery flooring in animal markets, I think, is very, very impractical. There are many points, sir, many points which I feel are very impractical, sir. There are many points which I think, yes, considering that we need to have a certain soft side towards animals, but first we need to put in place certain things for human beings. Therefore, sir, I think that we don't need to really be very alarmed about this. The state government does not need to really go with these rules which have been sent by the government of India, sir, by the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change. We will frame our own rules. Our dietary preferences are our rights, sir. And I think if the state government is firm, sir, I don't think that there is any need for alarm or panic, sir.
Today, we need to meet urgently as a House to debate and discuss about a matter which is actually should have been the least in the order of priorities of Meghalaya as a state. The Chief Minister has just made a mention about the background under which these rules were framed. And it is strange that some of these rules will have to be conformed to by the state, and we have to, in fact, oversee to their strict enforcement. Even consider having to implement such rules in a state which is beset with much, much more difficult and complex problems. So there's this famous saying that one man's meat is another man's poison. And I think we should live by that adage. If something is meat to us, let us have it. And if it is poison to others, let them not have it. I don't see any two opinions about it. But the fact of the matter is, as stated by a friend from Nongkrem, in the recent past, this Assembly has passed, adopted resolutions with far-reaching ramifications. And one of those happened to be a resolution on the need to settle the boundary tangle with Assam through a border commission. And this resolution was adopted way back in 2012. And we are yet to see it fructify till today. We need to be sure that if and when this resolution is adopted, it is taken to its logical end in order to properly articulate the concerns of the people of Meghalaya, and also not limiting ourselves only to the question of the ban on slaughter of cattle, but the larger issue of how this will impact on the federal fabric that we have sworn ourselves to.
Of the area. And all the more, we really appreciate the elaboration made by the Leader of the House, Dr. Mukul Sangma, in giving more clarification to the resolution. Sir, we have been surviving and we have been blessed by the secularism provided by the ambit of the Constitution of India. The maker of the constitutions, which have been manned and led by Dr. Ambedkar, coming from the lower epps of the society in the country, who had a chance, blessed by those leaders that had been the chairman of the constitution-making body, and he has touched all the sentiment from all quarters of this big nation. We have been very confidently live and feel the freedom of worship and other secularism that we have. And because of this only, this great nation has discovered one big resolution, decision, and survival. They say unity amidst diversity. Because of this, though it is the biggest democratic country in the world, with all other diversities, we survive, we thrive, we prosper, and we're trying to march ahead with all the blessing the nation and God can give us. Sir, today we find all this sort of ambition and the way that this government, the central government, has taken this step. This notification that announced today will really affect us very badly. No need to elaborate more words because the resolution and also the expression of leaders from the other side of the House, we could see that Meghalaya, the legislature of Meghalaya, has measured enough and has got credibility and efficiency for sightedness. In the very start of the expression or the speech from the other side of the House, the opposition side, they have uttered the word that they appreciate the resolution, meaning they accept it in spirit and letters. Sir, till the end of the speakers from the side, they may give caution to the government what to do or not to do, but the facts remain they did not oppose the resolution. Here is the greatness of our legislative assembly. We have created stories in the past that when the crisis comes to affect the survival and the interests of the people, we are one. The political differences and the political identity cannot pollute the actual sense of understanding of the great sons of Meghalaya who fought their own state to get all the freedom and all. I just want to touch just a few points. From the speeches of friends from the other side of the House, today they give a warning or a question from the government. Suppose if the central government did not withdraw this notification, what will we do? Should we say, if they don't give this, I'll do that? But I say that is not, it's too early to say so. I would like to give one answer to this. Perhaps we'll say to this honorable member of the House and outside the House that we'll cross the bridge when we come to it. To what extent? God knows. But we will not say what to do if they refuse to do what we want, but we can say we'll cross the bridge, definitely we'll cross the bridge if the candidates is there when things are done.
Was thinking of supporting this resolution. I was thinking to myself that it is going to be a bit strange that a legislator from the opposition standing up to support the resolution by the government. But I am very happy to see that many of my colleagues in the opposition share the same thought that this is the need of the hour.
So we are aware when we talk of the northeastern states, 7 of the 8 northeastern states, excepting Tripura, are among the top 10 as far as beef consumption is concerned, sir. With Meghalaya topping the chart with almost 81%, Nagaland with 57%, Mizoram 23%, and so on and so forth. So we find that beef consumption, especially in Christian-dominated states, is very, very common, sir. And if we compare, when we talk about the states, the largest beef-consuming state is not Muslim. It's not the Muslim majority in Jammu and Kashmir, but it is Meghalaya, sir. As mentioned by the Honorable Chief Minister, it is a poor man's meat, and as far as the delicacy is concerned, as far as the nutritional value is concerned, I think the people of Meghalaya and also across the country who are used to eating beef, I think have really benefited from this meat, sir.
For having this whole unanimity to take up this issue with Government of India through this resolution, urging the Government of India to withdraw this notification immediately. Mr. Speaker, sir, yes, some concern has been expressed about the likely response from Government of India. Based on our past experiences as to what we have seen as far as the fate of such resolution which has been adopted by the August House and have been posted before the Union Government for its consideration. The House has on other occasions also in the past come together, have unanimously adopted certain important resolution in the best interest of the people and the state as a whole. We have the resolution adopted, which was to urge upon Government of India to constitute a border commission. But we are also aware of the fact that our counterpart, Assam, also adopted a resolution countering our proposal. And so there is a kind of a situation which ultimately became a kind of resolution which were adopted by 2 respective houses, 2 respective state legislatures, conflicting each other. And that has been shared in this August House. And based on this only, Government of India has further reiterated that maybe it's time for resumption of talk by both the states in as far as the issue of the areas of difference with Assam is concerned in respect of the Assam-Meghalaya border. We have started resumption of dialogue, though the resumption of dialogue was pending for quite some time. Number of such meetings at the level of Chief Secretary was postponed, but recently we have again resumed. This is again a culmination of the different stands that has been emanating from the decisions in the 2 state legislatures. So I think we are quite aware of the outcome of those 2 resolutions adopted by both our August House and the August House of our counterpart. Mr. Speaker, sir, now as we adopt this resolution and post it before Government of India, it will be endeavor of the government to also further aggressively pursue this. And even before this, the government has taken up the issue with the concerned ministry, with Government of India, to take all measures to correct all those which goes beyond the mandate of the Principal Act. which is again correctly reflected in this whole context of the resolution that I have moved before this August House. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, even when we presume and assume that Government of India may or may not respond, it is definitely necessary for all of us across party lines, in the true spirit of our democratic system that we have, based on the mandate of the Constitution. We will take all necessary measures within the framework of our democratic system as mandated by the Constitution to take up this issue with Government of India. There are various measures, multiple options available before the people, before the state, Mr. Speaker. When the rights of the people, the liberty as enshrined in the Constitution is ultimately affected by such notification. And when such notification again go beyond the purview of the actual constitutional mandate in as far as the federal structure is concerned and the people's different fundamental rights are concerned. Therefore, the provision of the Constitution provides us the strength to take on the Government of India to undo this wrongdoing, Mr. Speaker, sir. And we will collectively move the Government of India and ensure that the whole spirit of the Constitution is upheld in as far as both federal structure of the nation is concerned and as far as various rights of the citizen of this great nation is concerned. So with these few words, I think I must once again thank all the honorable members of this August House for demonstrating utmost concern and articulating the sentiment on behalf of the people of the state, on behalf of the people of the region, and on behalf of the poor farmers of this country, and on behalf of all those people who are going to have a collateral damage and effect out of this whole agenda of the Government of India, of this August House. Through you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and propose now that we unanimously to withdraw this notification with immediate effect.
And one other point is that, sir, if we study at length this bill, we have seen that there are some exploit regarding the small business. Big business will get their share a lot from GST, but if we see the percentage share of the small business, they are face problems.